My name is Mark Vitek. I work for Mobomo. You've probably seen their presence here around the con. Best place I've ever worked. Say that. Not that's the actual truth. So come on in. The water's fine. So I'm going to give a talk today about building or paving the way for an AI chatbot for a large federal agency. I'm not supposed to say the agency's name, but it's not that agency. So the task is to create an AI chatbot. Create an AI chatbot on a large public-facing federal website aimed at reducing call center volume by providing natural language interface for answering users' questions before they get to the call center button. So the search team might ask, why do we need AI? We've got a robust search function, which we do. But AI happens to be really good at aggregating and condensing all the data related to a user's question, including contact information, links, phone numbers, all that stuff, using natural language query and response. It's just easy, and it saves the user from poking around the website, because we do have a lot of information. Okay. There we go. All right, so the existing ecosystem that we're building in, we have Drupal as a CMS. We have a static site, which is the user-facing site generated by Tone. Our bud Jacob here gave a talk on that yesterday. Then we have firewall and a proxy and several other tools. So it's a full environment. Let's see. Okay, so the basic AI requirements that we have are we need to index the site's content. We want all the answers to any of the user's questions to only come from the website's static data. We don't want it coming from outside. We don't want any information from our queries going to the outside. And that kind of dictated what LLM we're using for the moment. And keep in mind, this is a proof of concept, so scaling's not an issue here. Load balancing, none of that stuff. So it's fairly small at this point. Let's see. Queries have to be scrubbed of PII prior to transmission from the website to the chatbot. We have to store the queries for analysis for the effectiveness of the chatbot, i.e., did the session result in the user contacting the call center or not, since that's the goal, is to reduce volume. So for our proof of concept, we're using Ollama as the LLM server, ChromaDB as the vector database, and this is running on Linux on an AWS platform. And it's running on AWS because, so while our existing infrastructure runs on Cloud Foundry, which is provided by cloud.gov, which is excellent. All our stuff runs on that right now, and it's very capable. However, there were no instances capable of running the LLM. So we had to look outside for that. So that's why we chose the AWS implementation. So the proof of concept had to be, let's see, slide. Okay. Proof of concept had to be able to run on varied platforms like Azure, AWS, whatever else might be coming down the pike. Easily upgrade or downgrade the compute, memory, and storage resources. Easily and quickly change firewall settings based on the scope of the project at any time. The ability to make use of any package within reason that's required for our purposes. So this led us to the containerized implementation on AWS. So we have our pick of operating systems and packages. So for the front end, let's see. For the front end, sorry, I'm probably going to get out of sync with my slides, but try to avoid that, but it's probably going to happen. So the front end, since we're not exposing the CMS to the public, we have a sort of a limited set of implementations available to us. We're using a step. Yes.
Are you recording?
Yes.
You
yes.
are.
Yes. Yeah. For better or worse. Thank you. Appreciate that. So the front end is just a static site. No Drupal to fall back on. So JavaScript is really the choice that we have for implementation on the front end, which is fine. There's OllamaDB and ChromaDB libraries that are available for JavaScript that work very well. They appear to be independent of the version of ChromaDB, which is changing at this point in time. They've over the last couple months they've upgraded to V2, which gave us some issues with PHP. More on that later. All right. So AI use cases and ATO. So our agency requires all new AI applications to basically register their use case so that we're not duplicating effort, and they can sort of keep track of where we're going with AI. So that's in addition to whatever ATO that we will need to acquire later on, which we don't have to worry about that right now since we're just proof of concept. But the AI categorization process does. They do ask you to categorize your AI, and we're going with either familiarization or research and development. We're not which sure is going to work for us, but familiarization is basically just trying out standard AI tools like ChatGPT or Gemini. We're worried that that's not going to allow us to use APIs, which there is an API available at our agency. More on that later. But there's also a research and development categorization, which is basically a formal study of an AI tool or a capability for internal use only. Production or production intent is later. We're nowhere near that point yet. So when we are closer to production readiness, what we're going to try to do, and I'm not sure if this is going to work, but we have an existing ATO for our website and all the machinery that's associated with that. It would be nice if we were able to piggyback on that ATO, because I don't know if you've done SSPPs, but the question?
What's an ATO?
Oh, authority to operate. So basically, they have to. There's a lot of security questions, and there's pen tests.
Okay.
They check all your cards, basically. Sure. And that's a long process. So it would be really, yes, sir.
Not sure, related to what you were just mentioning earlier. You said you scrape the static content.
Yes.
To get the, is that because there was not an interest in talking directly to the Drupal to get the content?
Oh, so in our situation, what we have is the static site is what's available to the public. It tends to be. Oh, so you're saying why aren't we going directly to the Drupal database?
Yes.
I think that's a good question. At this point, I think it's easier to pull the static content, and I think I'll talk about this later. But what we do is we pull down all the static site and we look for classes, CSS classes, because those will tell us instantly, is this content, is this boilerplate, and we can just look for the CSS classes that are actually, user interested
Actual
data.
text,
Yeah, and we just pull that out. So that's.
I feel like an LLM would understands a web page better than it
Yeah.
does a normalized database.
Yeah, text.
Because a full web page has context and
It does.
everything around it.
It
right?
does.
Whereas
It does.
The database, the table's like,
Yeah, it could be interesting to explore, but
Right.
yeah, at this point, good old scraping a la 1998 seemed like an effective way to go. Back to the ATO. it's a really involved process. So we're hoping that we can piggyback on our website's ATO. Jacob worked with me on the SSPP, which is a security document, and it's great, it's effective, it does ask all the right questions, but it could be applicable to a missile guidance system, or it could be applicable to a website. They ask the same questions. So some of you in high positions could help us out with that.
Asking how many fire extinguishers we have was
Yes.
a little extreme.
Exactly. It took us a long time. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Say again.
It was 2 years.
Yes, it took us a long time, and I think 3 people to actually fill out the thing, and then another 3 people and 6 months to go through and turn that into something that we could actually use to run our security tests that they asked us to run weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually. So, I mean, it's great. It's great work if you got it, but efficient, no. So let's see where am I? Slide 10. Wow, I'm on track. Okay, so we talked about the static site extraction. We don't go directly to S3. What we do is we've got a process which basically pops the static site content into GitHub. I believe it's weekly, and our batch processes go and pull that out, dump them, and then, excuse me, we, as we said, pull out the info using classes. Then we have a script that basically does the embedding, turns it into something the LLM can understand, and pops that into the vector database. You're all familiar with RAG? Okay, so that's what we're doing. Basically, popping all that info into RAG, and when we do the query, we just tell the prompt says, do not use any information outside of this data set that we're giving you here. So no contact with the outside world, no contact with the actual LLM. It's not going to ask the LLM itself. It's going to extract the data from the RAG data that we're giving. So I had mentioned, let's see, okay, embedding. Okay, I had mentioned that there is an LLM API available at our agency. If we could use this, it would be nice. It's very new. It's sort of developed. We started developing our product before that was even generally known to be a thing. So now it's usable, and it's great. We can use whatever models that we want. The thing that we don't know is this thing going to be is it going to be around for a long time? Is it going to be available for our type of project? We just don't know. So, but if we were able to use that, that's really the only reason that we're on AWS, is because we needed something powerful enough to host that. So if we were able to use the agency's LLM API, we could offload that part, and then we could ditch AWS altogether, because cloud.gov, or Cloud Foundry, where we're running the rest of our stuff, has excellent RDS capabilities, right? We're running our Drupal CMS on their RDS. So we could switch from ChromaDB to PG Vector, which is a PostgreSQL version of a vector database, perfectly capable of handling production loads with that. And as for any proxy, logging, all that kind of stuff, we know it can do it in spades, right? It's great, it's efficient, it's easy, and it's cheap. We wouldn't have to pay for the AWS, which that certainly would be nice. But again, we're not sure how that's going to be categorized in the future. Let's just talk about that. Okay, so our current implementation, as I said, we're just running, it's all containerized. We're basically, we have a container for Olama, we have a container for ChromaDB, we have an Nginx proxy, and we have Open Web UI so that we can allow our developers to experiment with prompts without having to, go to scripting. Got it? Okay. So the proxy bears some talking about in terms of security footprint, because if we were going to allow the front end to directly connect to Olama and ChromaDB, there's two weird ports hanging out there that security is going to look at, right? 11.343 or something, and 8,000 for ChromaDB. So what we can do with proxy is we can assign a DNS name to each of the containers and have the proxy intercept calls to that DNS name on port 80, forward that to port 443, so we've got secure communications. And the proxy deals with passing that off to the LLM and the vector database, because they don't really have built in that kind of capability. So another benefit of the proxy is that gives us a place to manage SSL certificates, which is security is going to like that. So basically, we're giving it a very small footprint when it comes time to say, okay, how's your application going to live on our networks? Okay, so implementation. Initial experiments were in Python, which is great. Bazillions of libraries, works really well. Great examples out there. So we tested it out on Python until we, got the bugs out. But since Drupal is in PHP, that seems like a convenient thing. So we ported everything over to PHP. There's a good library available for Olama. There's a good library available for ChromaDB. However, pro tip for PHP and Chroma, the current version of Code with Kyrian / Chroma PHP is not compatible with the latest ChromaDB API. However, if you pull main, there it is, and it's one file. It's one file, very cool implementation. So kudos to Kyrian for coding that way. So you'll have to update your composer to point to main in GitHub and pull that down. And then you'll have a V2 API compatible version of the PHP ChromaDB library. So now we'll talk about future directions. Right now, the container setup that I talked about is working great. We have it actually connected to some pages where users can try out the LLM, see how it's working, give us feedback on either UI or AI questions, how well or not it works. But what we're thinking of is our current implementation still forces the front end to make calls to both the LLM and the vector database, even though they're going through port 80. It still has to know about both of those because it's taking the user's query, asking the RAG database about it, and then combining those and pushing those both off to the LLM, which is not great because it exposes everything. It makes it more difficult if we're going to change implementations in the future. So we're working on a single backend that will intercept all calls from the front end, and it can be a single point for scrubbing PII, which actually should happen on the front end, but we can make sure there's nothing that goes into the database. Logging, instrumentation, if needed, if we need to give the AI hints on how to parse that, how to parse the question that we've given it. And we can have a single point to intercept responses for formatting, which would be nice because as it is, it doesn't always come out nicely formatted, so we might need some additional processing to handle that, or other things that we have not thought of yet. So in addition to the public-facing chatbot, we do have an additional opportunity for performing basically the same thing, but for the call center personnel. And the interesting thing about that is that we have about 10 years of transcripts of calls from the call center. And so think about that as a gold mine for training the LLM, maybe more importantly, testing the validity of the responses of the chatbot, maybe supplementing the RAG database. The world's our oyster if we can manage that data. So we're aiming to do both of those, and hopefully that's what will happen. Questions? Yes, sir.
You said you're not able to say the agency where you're doing this for. What sector are you doing? Is it healthcare? Is it
Public
commerce?
information.
Public information? Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
Public information.
It's a clearinghouse of knowledge for from the federal government, and to some level, it'll point you to state information, but to answer questions from the public.
Have you had to deal with scenarios where users are typing in queries? So we did a proof of concept for a health related agency, and one of the issues or sticking points was people typing in questions about self-harm, people who are not in the best state of mind, asking things of the chatbot that clearly was not equipped to.
Yes, interesting.
And we did not push it through to production because there were some serious concerns as to
Yeah, how do you categorize those and send those off to the correct person that can handle
Yes.
it immediately?
Yes.
And if your thing fails, then all of a sudden
who takes
it's
responsibility for it? Because
exactly.
at this point it's a person's life.
Yeah.
For well-being.
That's tough. That's tough. So it just never went through because of that?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Well, I can say that we've not come close to the questions of that gravity simply because we're in the proof of concept stage, and I know that the people who are wanting to do the interesting, cool AI part are waiting for me to have all this stuff ready for them. So what I'm hoping is next year I can come back and talk about all the cool AI stuff that we've done since then after we've mastered this. Yes, sir.
So, I know you kind of touched on it, what is the next step, or how far away are you from actually having this public-facing, and this is a bit of a self-serving question, when do we get to brag this actually counts,
that we've done
right?
this. Well, I mean, it's tough because, the current situation of the federal government, right?
Sure.
It's just chaotic.
It's moving in that direction. They just authorized all the agencies to
I know.
buy ChatGPT.
Exactly. That's what I've been saying. We have a mandate from the president.
Right? Yeah.
So,
Give me all the resources.
But
Exactly.
Has anybody on the government side laid out, or these are the next hurdles you have to get through before we launch this thing? Do you have any idea?
no. And trying to find concrete answers is difficult because I can't say things are in chaos because they're not, but things are in really big transition right now, in flux.
Sure.
Thank you, sir. So there's the person who's been in charge of our site for 20 years. He took his early and went off to the private sector to make bank. So, and who can blame him? So that I'm not going to say it left us rudderless, but basically, someone is trying to fill his very large shoes right now.
Yeah.
So
And he was really advocating for this. Has somebody
Yes.
picked up the advocating?
yes, we have. Thankfully, we have someone who is. She's in our corner for sure, and she's doing her best to get us in front of the right people. Like one of the first things that she did was she made sure that it was probably a month and a half ago to get us once we had something that we could play show and tell with. She had us get in front of the agency's tech people on. We have like a tech demo Friday, so we got up there and did our show. And the cool thing that came out of that was that we were the first. This was the first, real application of an AI chatbot within the agency. There's lots of internal stuff going on. How can they help their staff do their job better? But this was the first external facing thing.
That might be.
So there was a lot of interest in that. But given the severe flux, that's the interest. It's still there, but the AI team, who are the people that can help us, they just had a launch. They had a deadline. I think it was July 14th when. So basically, they were AWOL trying to get their stuff ready. As far as next steps, we're trying to find out what we need to do to get through that categorization process. Our first attempt, they said, yeah, you can do familiarization, but you can't use API. So that's out. So I've been talking to some people on our team about it, and they're sort of they're brainstorming on how to approach that. And they're also strategizing with the possibility that the public-facing thing could not happen, and so let's also put the call center version out in front of people so that we can try to get that, so we can get traction on something.
Right.
So
That's kind of going to be my follow-up. Like, what questions were they asking you, or objections? Like, are they giving you like, okay, you need to solve this?
No. Basically, the mandate of the application was enough, right? Provide natural language queries for the public, reduce calls to the call center by X amount, or X it's still unknown, but basically reduce pressure, mainly reduce inactionable calls, right? If there's something that they just can't answer, it should be the AI's job to just say, so sorry.
Right.
Which we still can't. We can't prevent them from calling back after that, but we did our level best. Yes, sir.
So,
Sorry. I'm back, and then you.
okay. Yeah, your LLM, is that your LLM? Nobody else uses it?
Yes. Yeah. We. That was one of the things that. It wasn't a spoken rule, but I wanted to make sure that we had something that was. When our data went in, it stayed in. It didn't go anywhere, and our queries also didn't go anywhere. So that's why we chose Olama for the moment. Excuse me.
So now that system, now you need a whole new system then. You need another server.
And we went to AWS.
Documents to fill out.
I'm sorry?
You have a whole other set of documents to fill out to get the whole thing.
Oh, well, if we wanted to get it approved, for sure. Yeah, that's why we were hoping to go with as many ATO systems as possible, right? So if we're able to leverage the agency's LLM API for our project, that takes care of the hardware, that takes care of the ATO, right? It's already approved, so that really reduces our footprint as far as what. You're next, sir, in front.
Oh, yeah, thank you. So, two questions. I'm very suspicious of AI.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's way overhyped right now. how can you be sure? I think of AI as kind of like an overconfident intern. How can you be sure that data is not leaking?
Oh, so in our case, how we have it now is we've got our own EC2 instance on AWS. It's our own server. We have the LLM there, which is Ollama, which is self-contained. It doesn't ask questions of the outside world. It doesn't send your data anywhere. So we know it's unless it's breached, we know that it's not designed to phone home, basically.
Okay. And how can you be confident that it's not giving answers that it should, that it's not being too ambitious with the answers it's giving?
We'll have to test. And I think that's one of the applications that will prove helpful if we can get hold of the call center data.
Mm-hmm.
There's 10 years worth of transcripts there, so we can put in the questions, compare
Future against past.
Yes, and we can also. I mean, it's I don't want to say it's easy, but it's not too difficult to tell when it's fibbing, right? If it gives us links that aren't in our static site,
Mm-hmm.
or phone numbers, or terms that aren't in our static site, then we know something is wrong and we have to go and fix that.
Okay.
And really, our data set is pretty small. Our static site, it's not a huge amount of data. So again, I don't want to say it's easy, but it shouldn't be an overwhelming task to keep that in check.
What can I ask one more question?
Sorry. Yes, sir.
You talked about how you had to move to AWS because of the cost. Can you give some rough idea of what the minimum, what you've got a proof of concept?
Yeah. Yes,
What kind of cost you're paying there, and what you think it might scale to?
Scaling I can't answer because we're not even worrying about scaling right now because we're just in proof of concept and we're really hoping that we can use someone else's LLM. Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
So, but as far as cost, I don't have visibility into the like I get little red X's that says you're not allowed to see that. So
Okay, thank you.
Just to follow up on the question with the self-hosted Ollama, what's the model? Is the model that came with Ollama, or
you can there's many models available for Ollama. We're using Llama 3.2.
Okay.
It was chosen really because it's small.
Right.
So our answers aren't going to take too long. It's not going to take too many resources at the moment, and since we're a proof of concept, it's all we need for now. Once everything is in place, and this is going to be soon, I think this is imminent. Basically, we're going to start trying to, let me back up one step. So there is, there's an AI, an open web UI based AI available to folks inside the agency where they have, they provide the model and they've provided a data set, which is our scraped website. So we can basically do prompt testing on that. So what the goal is, if it's possible, is to basically mimic that as closely as possible so that they can start doing their testing right now, engineering the prompts to be effective, and just mimic that over on our back end so that when we move over, we're in a good spot and we're pretty confident that things are going to work the same that they did on the front end. Jacob?
How often, in your testing thus far, how reliable has it been in terms of things like hallucination and giving proper information, things like that?
I can't answer that question because I've been doing all the
So you've been doing all the tooling.
All the
testing
tooling.
hasn't happened.
yeah,
Okay.
and Yuritsa has been working on.
Oh, okay.
She did the front end.
I'll ask her.
Yeah,
She
she
can,
did,
but I
and
can't.
yeah, I think she's itching to work on the actual AI cool part. She's got a whole document that says we need to do this, 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 and this.
I think
And-
that's our whole team is itching to work on.
Yeah. So,
Well, for a system like this, wouldn't you just, I mean, Olama has this thing called temperature. You
Yeah.
turn it all the way down.
I turned to 0.
You don't hallucinate anything. Why would you even ever want to turn it on?
Yeah, for our purposes, yeah, we told it, don't, yeah, do not be creative, do not do this, do that. I think I can't remember how I phrased it, but in the beginning when I was playing with it, I did something with the prompt that said, don't be terse, right? Don't be a jerk. So, and it came out with the most archaic, flowery, and then I was like, okay, no. No. So it was bizarre.
It only has access to the data that you give it, it doesn't have access to the internet, right? So
No.
that should limit the
Yeah.
ability to hallucinate, right?
I'm not sure of the causes of hallucination, but
The
yeah.
underlying model still has data in it, right? He's using Llama 3.2, which is trained on data from outside of our system. And so it still has the ability to hallucinate out of whatever's inside of
I
there.
mean, shouldn't that training really be only how to have a conversation?
It should be, right? Theoretically.
That's all it should be trained how to do.
Yeah.
And then the data that it gives you back should only be what you give it. I mean,
I have a question. Maybe somebody here knows. For something like Llama 3.2, is it possible to know what its training was? To go and see, or is it just whatever the designer chose? Because, I mean, that could be helpful. Who knows what's in there? So,
I think
yes, sir.
Tied to that, I mean, in July, the White House issued an executive order banning woke AI, right? So, how do you know?
Oh, how do I know that stuff is not in there?
Yeah.
I guess we can't know if it's in there. All we can know is what it shows us. So it's on us to really test, really test, to make sure that we're very confident that what it's going to give us is within the parameters of what we're asking it. And part of the testing is going to be just throwing stupid questions at it, right?
Maybe not.
You volunteer?
Yes. Definitely. Always inviting stupid questions.
Yes, sir.
So I'm not sure if anyone else is asking. So in terms of security, I guess you didn't go too much into details. Because it's a public site, and if you do have a chatbot, how are you preventing other bots or someone from closing the system?
From a DDoS standpoint, we're behind a fairly robust system of firewalls. We've got our own, and then we've got cloud.govs, so they're pretty effective at DDoS. But as far as people, lobbing silly questions at it, or bots lobbing silly questions at it, I'm not sure. I think that's probably going to be part of one of the first things that the query goes through when it gets to the server. Check for we'll have some database of stupid words or whatever that we can go through to somehow try to prevent that, and then maybe send back a thank you, please call back when you feel better.
So is there any limitation on the amount of query you can ask the chatbot?
We haven't set any rate limits as of yet. As this is a proof of concept. We're still behind friendly lines, so we haven't done that yet. Yes, sir.
I'm wondering, and maybe you haven't gotten to this point yet, but when you're trying to pitch this to federal clients or sell it to them, do you get questions about, I imagine they'd be concerned that if we put this out to the public, it's going to be giving wrong answers and hallucinations and things like that. Do you get questions about that, and how do you address those when you're trying to?
We haven't gotten those questions yet. There's quite a large team of AI folks at our agency that are already doing that work for their in-house AI, and we also have. Do we have a public Is there an AI that's available to the public, Jacob? Do you know?
No.
Okay, so
Yours would probably be the first if we get there.
okay, no pressure.
It'll be hours by then, don't worry.
Yeah. I mean, it's our request was it's from within our agency. We're not trying to sell it, outside of it's a very narrow thing. But that question hasn't asked, but it's going to be one of the things that we're just going to have to test for. There's going to be a lot of questions like that are just for any AI application. It's like what if this, what if that, which are all very valid questions. All right, thanks for being here for my first public speaking engagement.